This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Right then, as you could probably tell from that little intro piece there, today we're talking about blues. This is the fifth, I think, video in the series that I've been doing on different types of commonplace chord sequences, and we couldn't do a series of videos like this without mentioning the 12-bar blues. Now, the bog standard 12-bar, the 3-chord bash as it's sometimes called, basically I did a video I think last year sometime entitled something like What Makes Blues Sound Bluesy, and I deal with that standard 12-bar sequence in that video. If you missed the video, I'll link to it in the description box below. What I thought I'd do in today's video, and possibly next week's video as well, is take a look at one or two commonplace variations on the standard 12-bar blues, one of which, as I said, you heard at the beginning of the video. So I'll tell you what, let's waste no more time and take a look at what was exactly going on in that particular 12-bar blues variation. Here it is. Right then, here is a pretty standard 12-bar blues in the key of G, with which I'm sure we're all pretty well acquainted. But for those of us who aren't, here's what it would sound like. So that's like the kind of pretty standard fare 12-bar blues that, as I say, we're all reasonably familiar with. Incidentally, all of the chord shapes that you're going to see me using in this demonstration are all up on my Patreon page. Link is in the description. So what's the first thing we can do to make it a little bit more interesting? Well, it's all going to stem on changing from the 1 chord, the G7, to the C7. And the main place where we're going to do this is in bar 4, where we go after the first 4 bars, as I say, from the G7 to the C7. What we can do there is approach that C7 chord from 1 semitone above. So that would effectively be a D flat 7. So you put that into the end of that bar there, which gives us that sort of transition down. Here it is in context. So you've got your first couple of bars, G7, D7, G7, C7, and then G7, D flat 7, and into the C7. And it just adds a little bit of variety, just kind of creates a nice little stepping stone into that C7 chord and adds a bit more movement. The next thing we're going to do is, well, it's straight out of the Peter Green, Need Your Love So Bad, Fleetwood Mac kind of thing. It's when you're on the 4 chord, which is the C7. If we move that up a semitone and turn it into a diminished 7th, like that, that's a familiar sound. Like that. And then of course, if you watch the video that I did on ugly chords a little while ago, a week or so ago, you'll remember that these diminished 7th chords can be moved up or down the neck in 3 fret stages. like that, just again to add the impression of a little bit more movement. Now, it's at this point where we're going to basically replace a big chunk of the chord sequence, the part where we've come out of the 4 chord, or its, you know, kind of replacement there, that diminished thing, and you would normally now just kind of sit on a couple of bars of G7 before doing the D7, C7, G7 kind of thing. What we're going to do is take a look first of all at the key of G major. Here it is here. And we're going to take the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 5 chord and the 6 chord, which is basically a G, an A minor, a D and an E minor, and we're going to rearrange those into what is known as a 1-6-2-5 sequence. So that will be G, E minor, A minor, D, and you can hear that leads beautifully back to the G chord again. It's a standard little songwriting, you know, kind of rudiment, that, the 1-6-2-5. But we're going to make it sound a little bit more sophisticated and bluesy by making the A minor into an A minor 7, which I tend to just play with my thumb round the top like that, grabbing the root, and then like that. It just has a more pleasing sound to my ear. We'll make the D into a D7, and we'll make the E minor, this is probably the biggest change, into an E7. So that will give us back into the G7 again there. So that's the 1, the 6, played as a dominant 7th, the 2, to the 5, back to the 1 chord again. And that basically gives us this chord sequence. And all I did from there on in to kind of get the chord sequence that you ended up hearing at the top of the video was to play some of these 7th chords, like the C7th. I played that as a 9th. And the D flat 7th as well became a D flat 9th. Again, to me that's just a more sophisticated bluesy kind of sound, using that as a 9th chord. And what I also did was the D7 at the end, after the 1, 6, 2, 5, back to the 1 chord again. When it would go to the D7 then, I changed that to a D augmented, which to me, again, it just sets up a little bit more tension at the end of the chord sequence, and, you know, makes that resolution to the G7 at the beginning of the next time round a little bit more pleasing, like that. So here is the chord sequence as you heard it played at the top of the video, with the chords mapped out, and you'll see the chord sequence sort of ticking by on screen. Here it is. And as I mentioned in that little clip there is a printer-friendly PDF of all of the chord shapes I was using in that demonstration. You also get a tab of what I played in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats. You get that little clip that you saw of me there explaining the chord sequence and demonstrating it. And you also get a bass and drums backing track to play along with it in case you fancy having a go yourself. All of that's, as I say, up on my Patreon page. There's the address, and the link is, of course, as usual, in the description. It's only $3 a month and you get all of these extra resources. Got to be a bargain, hasn't it? Anyway, come Saturday, what I'm going to be doing for the usual Saturday solo video is showing you how to play over this particular type of chord sequence, and you know, you get some new licks under your fingers, and again, all of that stuff will be up on Patreon as well come Saturday. But for now, what do I need to mention? Yes, the live stream on Friday, 5 PM UK time. Every Friday we have a bit of a live stream and just have a beer and chat about music and guitars and all manner of things that may crop up. So it's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there. But for now, that's pretty much all I've got for you folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video, found it useful, informative, and in some small way inspiring. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves folks, stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.